Hey there, bookworms. Welcome to Pouring Over Books, a podcast where we dive into the books we love and maybe a few we didn't. I'm your host, LaShawn, and every week I'll be deep diving into what I'm reading, recommendations, and talking about all the things that we love about books. So grab your favorite coffee or tea, find a cozy spot, and let's get ready to pour over some great books together. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Pouring Over Books podcast. I am LaShawn, your host, and friends, we are halfway through the year. It's June. How did that happen? Is it weird to say that I feel like this year has both crept by and sped by at the same time? Is it just me? I mean, I feel like I don't know how we got here. The year really sped by. I guess that happens when you're having fun. Whatever. Anyway, remember last month when I was talking about how I hadn't read any books that wowed me? Well, friends, May changed all of that. I got some surprise 5 and 4-star books, and some of the books that I'm going to talk about that are on my radar for June, I feel like they will be 5-star reads or either the greatest disappointment ever. One of the two. However you look at it, though, my reading year is looking up. And if I'm going to be honest, I was getting concerned that this was just going to be a basic reading year. I was like, have I peaked? Will nothing excite me anymore? Will there be no books this year that I press into everyone's hands and say, read this? I mean, I'm sorry for the dramatics, but that's how I was feeling. But I think the year is looking up. So anyway, let's get into what I read in May and then what is on my radar for June. So in total, I read 8 books in May. 38% were audio, 38% were print, and 25% were read on my Kindle, which I personally think is a great mix. So I'm very proud of that. I talked about some of those books in depth in my May episode already, in some of my May episodes already, like Julie Chan is Dead and Ash and Bat. Audrey and Bash are just friends and Silver Elite. But today I'm going to give you an in-depth review of 3 of those books from last month, including more about Ash and Bash and Audrey and Bash, and more about Silver Elite now that the dust has settled on that drama. So let's start with The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gilling. This was my first book of the month, and I listened to this one on Libro FM. Let's talk about the premise. Sybil Delling, a diviner whose omniscience visions in her dreams is nearing the end of her 10-year service at a grand cathedral. But when her fellow diviners begin to vanish, Sybil is forced to team up with Roderick, a charming but heretical knight who questions her powers. As danger creeps beyond the cathedral walls, Sybil must face unearthly forces and her own fate. Only a heretic can defy the gods, and Roderick may be her only hope. My thoughts on this. I had no intention of reading this book when it first was published because I knew it was the first book of a duology, and I've been burned with people either not finishing the duology, not finishing series, or taking forever to produce them. But I loved her Shepherd Duke King duology. It was one of my favorite 2 books that I read in 2023. So when I was offered the ARC on Libro FM, I gave in. This started off really, really slow for me. And I think maybe it was the narrator and her cadence. And everyone had a British accent. So it was like good, interesting slow. Like I was interested, but I wasn't like, oh my God, I have to keep listening. Just like her previous series, it was slow and it was lush and the story builds itself slowly. And it was so slow that the build was so slow that I didn't realize how much I was enjoying it until it was almost over. I loved this book. The story itself built, and just when I said to myself, but what would the next book be about? The last chapter. I suspected, but I didn't know it would go that way. The romance was a perfect companion to the overall story. So if you're looking for a romance first fantasy, a traditional romantasy, I don't think this is it. But if you want a good story with fantasy and romance elements in it, read this. I say the same thing about her last book, though, her last set of books. So anyway, I really enjoyed this one. And again, I cannot wait to read the next book in the duology. I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I want to talk about is Shield of Sparrows by Devny Perry. The premise: in a world where gods send monsters to keep mortals in line, a princess raised to obey is thrust into fate she never chose. Bound by an ancient treaty sealed in blood, she's forced to marry a stranger and journey across treacherous lands with a warrior who resents her. Once expected only to wear a crown and follow orders, she now faces the weight of kingdoms, secrets, and betrayal. Everyone demands that she be a queen, a spy, or a sacrifice. But as danger closes in, she begins to rewrite her role, discovering that the most underestimated girl might be the most powerful of all. I love this so much. And it's the only romantasy that I put on my summer reading guide. I admit to being skeptical about Devny Perry. She's one of my favorite romance authors, but I was skeptical about her writing romantasy. Even though it seems like many romance authors these days are making the pivot into romantasy, but at the least I figured it would be a well-written love story. That part would be good. With that in mind, I said I'll read the first chapter, and I was up until 2 a.m. My friends, it has been a long time since a romantasy book has drawn me in and kept me in a chokehold like this one did. Like I said, from the first page, I was drawn in. I literally could not put this book down. Everything about it kept me interested, from the monsters, like what exactly are they? The world building to our main characters, all three of them, and the slow burn and the tension and the her I hate you. Oh my God, it was so good. Everything about this book drew me in and kept me on the edge of my seat until the very last page. I had theories upon theories upon theories, and some of them were right, but the majority of them I was so wrong, and I loved every minute of that. And the last page, oh my God. Anyway, Devny Perry skillfully led us through this new world and the mystery of it all. There's so much to discuss. But this gave me first time reading ACOTAR feels, first time reading Throne of Glass feels, and I cannot wait until the next one. This, as you can already tell, got a solid 5 out of 5 for me. It was awesome. The next book that I want to talk about that I read in May was Audrey and Bash Are Just Friends by Tia Williams. The premise: it's the last day of school at Cheshire Prep, and Audrey Mercy Moore's summer is already off track. Her dad canceled their Malibu plans, leaving her stuck in a tiny apartment with her mom, stepdad, and her baby sister, aka the Goblin Baby. Desperate to finish her self-help book for her entry into Stanford, she hires Bash Henry as her fun consultant. His mission: help her complete the Experience Challenge, a list of 5 bold dares to spark inspiration. It's a win-win. She gets content, he gets paid. There's just one problem: Bash is charming and the chemistry is undeniable. Can they stick to business, or will things get complicated? This is a YA novel featuring the daughter of the main character of Tia Williams' 7 Days in June. I'm going to go ahead and say I really didn't expect that I was going to be reading this one, but I decided to listen to it. And just like all other Tia Williams books, I could not put it down. In fact, I stopped listening in the middle of it and went to get the physical book because I listen so much slower than I read. And I needed to know how it ended quickly. I'll say more quickly than listening would allow. Good writing is good writing. And only Tia could have me rooting for the kid instead of the parent, who was one of my favorite characters ever of hers. It showed the maturity and immaturity at the same time that teens have, but it was also so sweet. It was a nice, quick read, especially in light of the Netflix series Forever. I feel like this is something you can go and read with your teen. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars and have recommended it to several moms of teenage girls. Teenage boys can read it too. I recommended it to my son. He side-eyed me, but he is watching Forever, which that's a whole nother story. The last book I want to talk about, no, not the last book. The next book I want to talk about that I read last month was Rewind It Back by Liz Thomforde. The premise: when Holly lands her dream interior design internship in Chicago, the last person she expects to run into is her first love and heartbreak, Rio DeLuca. But fate has other plans. He's not only her neighbor again, he's also her newest renovation project. As they clash over blueprints and buried feelings, sparks resurface. Rio never stopped believing Haley was the one, and she's not the same girl he once knew. Can a second chance fix what was broken, or will their past keep them apart for good? This is a story of love, timing, and finding your way back to the one who got away. I have been waiting for this book, friends, about our sweet marshmallow Rio since book one. And for me, it did not disappoint. This was a cute second chance romance, and the whole time I was reading it, there was a lot of awes. And oh my God, Rio, the playfulness, the chemistry, it was so swoony and sweet and just, it was so sweet. It make your teeth hurt. I usually hate books that rely on flashbacks to tell a story, but this works so well here with the story because you had to know what happened to see how they could go forward. And the happily ever after was well worth it. It was a great end to the Windy City series, and I am sorry to see this series end. It was really good. I gave that, I think I gave it a 4 out of 5. The last book we're going to discuss from last month is, of course, Silver Elite by Dani Francis. We're going to revisit this book. Just a quick resummary. Ren Darlington has spent her life hiding her powerful psychic abilities. Being modified means death. But when she's captured and forced into the enemy's elite training program, she sees a chance to strike from within. Surrounded by enemies and deadly secrets, Ren must survive and resist falling for Cross Redden, her infuriating commander. Okay, I reviewed this when it first came out and when the book internet was all up in arms about it. They have since moved on to other topics that are more worthy of their time for now. So this has had time to settle, and I had time to come back around to my review since I read it in the very beginning of the month. Sometimes time and distance makes you really think through what you read. To be clear, I still give this a 4 out of 5. I think that if you go into it with expectations that it is a romance forward dystopian novel, you will be fine. It's not the best thing I've ever read, but I went in with low expectations after coming off of Shield and Sparrows, which was excellently written and a wonderful, well-built story. Because the author was new, quote unquote, and unknown to me. I mean, this might be somebody I know and I just don't know it, most likely. But anyway, it was predictable. But that doesn't mean that the plot twist, that when the plot twist was revealed, that I wasn't like, oh, yes, yes, yes. You know what I mean? How can I put it? I see people's problems and people's questions about it because it got a massive, massive advertising budget behind it. And they usually only do that for top tier authors. So it is a question of who is if you're really curious, this is a good question of who is behind this. But I don't care. I've determined that I don't care. If it is ever revealed, I'm prepared to be surprised. But yeah, if you want something easy, fun, kind of interesting, kind of dystopian, military with a military school bent, take this one to the pool with you this summer. It'll be fine. Now that we've gone through that, let's get on the books on my radar for June. June, my friends, is a busy book month. There are so many new books. I was going through the literary journals. I was going through the pubs and trying to put together, when I was putting together the summer reading guide, and June is overwhelming. There's so much out there to read, so many books, and I included a lot of them in my summer reading list. But the book that I'm going to talk to you about today either didn't make the cut or I found out about them after the list was already published or ready to publish. And after all of that work, because friends, it was a lot of work, I was not going to go back and change it on multiple platforms in multiple formats. So today I've got 6 books to talk to you about today. I've already put my library request in for a few, and I am hoping to listen to the rest. So let's get into my selections for June. The first one is These Heathens by Mia McKenzie, which is out June 17th. In 1960s Georgia, 18-year-old Doris Steele needs an abortion, something impossible to get in her small town, especially with a midwife who attends church with her parents. So she heads to Atlanta, helped by her favorite teacher and brash, wealthy childhood friend Sylvia. While waiting for the doctor, Doris is pulled into Sylvia's dazzling, radical world. Civil rights leaders, queer artists, fast-talking boys, and confident women who challenge everything Doris thought she knew. Surrounded by people who seem sure of who they are, Doris knows only one thing for certain. She doesn't want a baby. But what does she want? Sounds good, right? I'm very interested in this one, and as soon as I get a hold of it, I'm going to start on that one. The second book that's on my radar is Slow Burn Summer by Josie Silver. This is my only traditional romance novel on this month list, and that should tell you something because there was more. How can I put this? I don't read literary fiction really until the summertime because I have more time. And I feel like I have more time to focus on it because literary fiction to me takes time to focus. So that's what I like to focus on in the summer. And that is usually what my summer reading lists have on them. So I'm sharing with you all. But anyway, back to this one romance that's on my list. Talent agent Charlie's career is floundering. His divorce ruined his screenwriting dreams, and now he's stuck managing a hit romance novel whose real author refuses the spotlight. Despite, no, desperate, he hires Desperate, he hires Kate, a struggling former soap actress, to pose as the writer on a book tour. For both, it's just a job until sparks fly. As the summer unfolds and their fake roles blur into real feelings, Charlie and Kate must decide if they're just playing parts or writing a new love story of their own. A charming tale of second chances, unexpected connection, and the messy magic of going off script. It sounds like perfect by the on the beach, by the pool type books. The next book that's on my radar for June is called Park Avenue by Renee Adeah. Gia's song is on the brink of everything she's ever wanted: junior partner at a top law firm, loyal best friends, and a luxury lifestyle within reach. But when she's assigned to handle the messy divorce of Korea's wealthiest family, the Parks, she's thrust into a world of secret scandals and high stakes and sky high stakes. As she untangles their drama and uncovers the shocking truths, Gia starts to question her own ambitions. Torn between Torn between career goals and unexpected emotional ties, she must decide if chasing success is worth losing herself in the process. The next book that's on my radar, this is book number 4, is So Far Gone by Jess Walter. It comes out June 10th. After punching his son-in-law and ditching modern life, Reese Kinnick vanished to a remote cabin, living off grid with only raccoons for company. But when his daughter disappears and his grandkids are in danger from a violent militia, Reese must re enter a chaotic world he hoped to escape. With a bitter ex, a retired detective, and a grudge holding friend by his side, he embarks on a wild, darkly funny mission to make things right. Part redemption story, part cultural satire, it's messy, heartfelt journey through family, failure, and finding purpose when you least expect it. I'm really interested in that one. They had me when he punched his son in law and ditched modern life. Now, the next book that is on my list, and the last, no, all right, the next book, this is the 5th book that is on my list, is The Catch by Daley-Ward Yrsa, and it is out June 3rd. Twin sisters, Clara and Dempsey, have always struggled to relate, their familiar bond severed after their mother vanished into the Thames. Is that how you say it? You know, that river that's in England. In adulthood, they are content to be all but estranged until Clara sees a woman who looks exactly like their mother on the streets of London. The catch: this version of Serene, aged not a day, has enjoyed a childless life. Clara, a celebrity author in desperate need of validation, believes Serene is their mother, while Dempsey, isolated and content to remain so, believes she is a con woman. As they clash over this stranger, the sisters hurtle towards an altercation that threatens their very existence, forcing them to finally confront their past together. This sounds very interesting, and if I get it anytime soon from the library, I will be reading it. The last book on my list is a nonfiction book, clap, be proud of me, but it's a biography, so that's why. It's called Joy Goddess, Adeah Walker and the Harlem Renaissance, out June 10th. I will be listening to this one. Dubbed the Joy Goddess of Harlem's 90s by poet Langston Hughes, Adeah Walker, daughter of millionaire entrepreneur Madam C.J. Walker, and the author's great-grandmother and namesake, is a fascinating figure whose legendary parties in Dark Tower Salon helped define the Harlem Renaissance. After inheriting her mother's hair care enterprise, Adeah would go on to become America's first high-profile Black heiress and a prominent patron of the arts. Joy Goddess takes listeners inside of her 3 New York homes, a mansion, a townhouse, and a pied-à-terre, I guess like a terrace, where she entertained Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston, Paul Robeson, Florence Mills, James Weldon Johnson, Carl Van Vechten, W.E.B. Du Bois, and other cultural, social, and intellectual luminaries of the Roaring Twenties. Now based on extensive research and Walker's personal correspondence, her great granddaughter creates a meticulous, nuanced portrait of a charismatic woman struggling to define herself as a wife, mother, and businesswoman outside of her famous mother's sphere. In Joy Goddess, Aaliyah's radiant personality and impresario instincts at the center of a vast artistic world where she flourished as a fashion trendsetter and international traveler are brought to a vivid and unforgettable life. I think of all of the nonfiction books that I'm going to read this year, and there are not many, I think this one is my most anticipated one. Exciting, right? Well, June is busy, and if you've seen my summer reading guide, you know it is even busier. I am going to put the link to my summer reading guide in the show notes because I feel like everybody should go and check that out and find yourself something to read. It is good, friends. It is good. But that is all. Let's talk about what I just finished reading. What I've just finished reading, what I'm currently reading, and what I'm going to read. Planning being the operative word. I just finished Wild and Wrangled by Lila Sage, romance novel. Let me tell you what it's about. When Cam's wedding falls apart, she rents her dream house right next door to her first love, Dusty Tucker. He's back in town and still hard to resist. As old feelings resurface and past wounds reopen, they must decide if love deserves a second chance or if this time it can last. This was a solid 3 out of 5 for me. I wasn't disappointed, and it was a second chance romance. I felt like the third act breakup in the book was kind of unnecessary and contrived. Like she just needed something to throw in there because it was so ridiculous. But other than that, it was good. It was a solid 3 out of 5. It was a perfect fluff book for me to transition from one book to another. That's all I got for you. Currently, I am reading a book called Silver Cloak by L.K. Stevenson. This one doesn't come out until July 29th, but I got a copy to review, so I am reading that so that I can do that. Driven by revenge, Saffron Killeron infiltrates Silver Cloak Academy to bring down the Blood Moons, a gang who murdered her parents. When her secret is exposed, she's given a dangerous second chance. Go undercover within the Blood Moons. As she navigates deadly gangs, dark secrets, and forbidden feelings for the Kingpin's son, Saf must balance loyalty, lies, and survival. But with a prophecy linking her to his death and her mission pushing her to the edge, she risks losing more than her cover. She could lose her heart, her life, and everything she's fought for. Vengeance has a price, and Saf must decide if it's worth paying. This book is interesting. I needed something to pad my reading until I go on vacation, where I think I'm going to take nothing but romance novels. So I'm taking my time with this one. I'm not really in a rush. Plus, it doesn't come out until July, and so I got an early start. I may pause this one, if I'm honest, until like maybe mid or the end of June and come back to it. It depends on what happens in like the next few chapters and if it picks up. Because right now how a book is interesting. It's building. Like I see where it's trying to go. But I'm like hooked. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I wonder how this is gonna go. But I'm not like I can't put it down. But we'll see. Up next for me is going to be Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. Let me tell you the premise about this one. Maya, a struggling grad student, can't stop thinking about Connor, her brother's best friend, an older, successful biotech entrepreneur who insists their relationship is off limits. When they're stuck together in a chaotic Sicilian wedding, hidden secrets and undeniable chemistry blur the lines. Surrounded by ancient ruins and temptations, Maya decides a summer fling might be exactly what she needs, even if it's complicated and risky. I hate age gap romances. I mean, guys, you have no idea. I hate them with a passion. So it is a tribute to Ali Hazelwood that I even picked this book up. It is based on the sister of her book that I took on vacation last summer. So I feel like it would be like it was like a continuation. Like I had to do it. Like I read one book last summer while on vacation. I'm going to read another one this summer while on vacation. It made sense at the time until I found out about the big age gap. She is 23 and I think he's 38. No, she's 24. He's 38. I like my age gaps when the women are 25 and above, so I think that's what I'm struggling with. But anyway, like I said, she is the sister of the brother from the book that I read last summer. But I remember, even though it was like fleeting, like it was like maybe a line or two, I remember saying, oh, the baby sister has a crush on the best friend. And now here we are. I'm willing to try it because it is Allie Hazelwood. So I will update you, sometime next month, sometime this month when I'm done. I'll try. The update might be like I couldn't do it. And then that would be sad for me because it would be the first Allie Hazelwood book that I've ever DNF'd. But hopefully it won't come to that. Hopefully she wins me over. Anyway, that is all today, friends. If you love this episode, do me a favor and make sure you follow the podcast so that you don't miss the next one. Remember, it's free. It helps us grow and it keeps your TBR interesting. Anyway, as always, you can always follow me personally on IG and TikTok at LaShawn Wiltz and my Substack Letters to LaShawn. Okay, friends, thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you guys next week. Bye-bye.